Alright, so let's begin today's session. Today's session is going to be about Puppet. So yesterday we saw that in Puppet we have got client server kind of architecture where the server is responsible for holding all the configurations onto itself, whereas the nodes or the clients would be responsible for pulling the configuration from the server and working on themselves. So this is a mirror kind of analogy where Puppet server would be acting as a mirror and the nodes would be acting as nodes as a digital person. The node asks the Puppet master or server, or even in this example a mirror, that how it should be looking, and according to that it would be working on itself. If the nodes are already in a state in which they should be, in that case the nodes will not be working on itself. So we have seen a lot of examples, a few demos as well. So we have configured three different resources. Now it's time to work on the actual infrastructure. So yesterday we have just seen that how to write a small manifest, okay, but we haven't seen how to convert that into a nice module. Modules are required when you want to deploy the code onto uh, the node side. Okay, so you'll also see how to deploy code using Puppet. But before that, if you have any queries or doubts from yesterday's session, feel free to ask the queries so that I know that everyone is on the same page and we are not missing on any of the jargons here. Okay, am I audible and the screen is visible to everyone? Can I get a quick confirmation? Okay, cool. I guess you people don't have any questions to ask or any doubts so far. So we'll be moving ahead. Okay, great. There is a question. So Nagarjuna has a question that is resource like a program and manifests like instructions? No. Resource is not a program. Resource is just a description of a single entity on a machine. Okay, so a package is a resource. In our case, a service is a resource, and the file is a resource. And we have told that these resources should be in a particular state. Okay, so while defining a resource, we told that okay, this resource which is Apache 2 has to be ensured to be present on this machine. Okay, so that is not a program. When you put it down into one single manifest or .pp file, it is going to be a program in that case. Okay, not even exactly program because we are not writing any logic into it as of now, but manifest would be holding all your scripts. Okay, all your configuration scripts, so a kind of program. So you could call manifest as a program and resource as the building block of it. Okay, a representational building block of it. Resources would be taken care by RAL or resource abstraction layer to implement it onto the operating system. So any operating system it could be either CentOS, RHEL, or Ubuntu or Mint machines, anything. Your resource abstraction layer would be figuring out how to get to the state which you have described in your resource definition. Okay, so this is a descriptive language. We don't care about how it is going to be implemented, rather than we care about what has to be implemented. So how to install Puppet? Okay, for installing Puppet, I need a box called Puppet. Let's start it. Okay, so I have this machine which I have just started. This machine does not have anything installed on it, and we would be installing Puppet Master. We've already seen that on workstations, if you want to test your manifest, you would be installing Puppet Agent. and the package for that is just Puppet, not as in literally it's Puppet, Puppet. Okay, so here this machine I am going to use as my Puppet master, or on the server side. So the package that is required for Puppet master to work, it's Puppet master itself. So apt-get install, I'll rather update it first, and apt-get install y Puppet master. Okay, so these are this is the package that you would be installing. Now this is open source Puppet, so it would not take a lot of time for installation. We would be working with enterprise Puppet so that you get to know about more features. Okay, I'm installing open source Puppet just to show you the path references. I've already told you that the paths would be different on Puppet open source and enterprise. Features are also going to be different, but the basic commands that you would be firing are same. Relative paths are all same. Absolute path is a bit different on open source. It is @c Puppet, and on enterprise it is @c Puppet Labs/Puppet. Okay, that's the only difference that is going to be. By the time it installs itself, I would be spinning up another nodes, and we would be treating these nodes as our client machines, and we would be installing Puppet on top of it. It's called Puppet Agent. The daemon that executes on nodes is called Puppet Agent. The daemon that executes on the server side is called Puppet Master. Well, there is a lot to Puppet descriptive language. It's not just resources. There are going to be constructs that we are going to look into. But very first, we will try to set up the nodes and bring them together with Puppet Master. We'll see how to configure them from one single remote location. Once that is done, we will be concentrating on the Puppet language again. Okay, so I'll talk of resources, I'll talk of how to include them, how to bundle them into a class, how to pass parameters to a class, how to place comments, then how to modify the template according to different nodes. Okay, we will also see about variables, control structures like if, else, elif, how to place regular strings, how to use regular expressions. Both of them would be different. Regular expressions helps us in grouping these nodes from within a cluster. Then there are case statements that we would be using. Then there are also spacecraft operators or spaceship operators which are there. Okay, so there are a lot many things that we would be learning from the Puppet language. Resources are the one which are physical entities or representations of the state of the machine. Then there are virtual resources as well. Okay, so the basic difference between a resource and a virtual resource is that whenever we declare a resource inside a manifest and Puppet execution goes through it, it would be implemented directly on that node. But if you want to hold that implementation till a later point in your manifest, in that case you would be using virtual resource. So it is going to take a few more seconds for installation. I'll wait for it. And meanwhile, what we would be doing is we'll check on the nodes that what's happening on the node side. So this is node 1. We want to configure these nodes as agents. So the package that we would be installing is Puppet, the same package that we installed on the workstations or on the developer machine of ours. Sudo su, type in your password, then type in apt-get update and apt-get install Puppet. Apt-get update and apt-get install Puppet. For the people who are new in Linux, are you facing any problems? Because we have covered in very super, very surface manner of what Linux is about, how to get it running, how to fire some commands. Okay, so we'll get into problems if you do something else. Okay, or try out something else, and I encourage you to get into problems. More problems you face, more you would be looking for the solution, and more you would be getting familiar with the Linux environment. Okay, so don't hesitate in working with it. Should be very easy. Till now we haven't covered any of the utilities part. We are just covering the regular admin part, like creating the users, groups, changing permissions, creating folders, changing directories, looking for the files and file permissions, installing the packages, uninstalling the packages, getting the sudo root. Okay, so these are the things that we have seen. We have seen about installing the packages as setting up the packages and configuring these different services as well. The only part which would be missing out from Linux administration, if you are referring exactly to the Linux administration course, would be to create LVMs and quota. Okay, so on the storage part, creating logical volumes and providing quota to the users. This is not going to be covered if you're talking specifically about RHCA, which covers Linux administration part. So I'll wait for this machine for installation. By the time that happens, we have installation completed on Puppet, I guess. Yeah. So Puppet installation is done. So Puppet Master is all ready to rock. Puppet should be the command that would work here. Okay. So Puppet command is working. How to register a node? Let me show you where the files are kept. The files on Puppet Master would be kept at cd etc puppet, like I said. Okay. And in here there would be one single configuration file which would be handling all the major configurations of Puppet. The file is called puppet.conf. So the path for puppet.conf is going to be etc puppet.conf. Okay, so since this is a Puppet master, we are not going to change anything on this. In the Puppet agent, you'll have to tell the Puppet agent where the master is. Okay, so the IP address of the master or the domain name of the master has to be provided there. There are a few prerequisites for setting up Puppet. Installing packages wouldn't do. Okay, so take care that you remember all of these things. So the first prerequisite is that you need to have a working DNS in your environment. Okay, so I would be using the DNS that we have already configured. So this is the DNS that I would be using. Prerequisite number 2, um, Puppet requires uh, the host names to be set up and the domain names to be set up on the machine. Currently, if you see this machine, on this box, the host name is set up to Ubuntu. So I'm going to change it to Puppet. How to change it? Vim, the file in which you're going to change is host name, etc host name. Okay, so we are changing it there. I'm changing Ubuntu to Puppet. Default name for Puppet Master is Puppet. Default URL for Puppet Master is puppet.example.com. Okay, so if this is your default setting, in that case you don't have to configure the node at all. You don't have to tell the node where to find the puppet. By default it is going to find it at puppet.example.com, and that should be resolvable by your DNS. Okay, so what I'll do is I would set it up. I would set up the nodes, at least just one node with the open source Puppet. Okay, we'll try to configure it, set it up, and then we will replace this open source Puppet with enterprise Puppet. So I'll cover it in much detail, that how to install enterprise version of Puppet and how to get along with it. Installation steps in enterprise version are completely different. They are not similar as Puppet open source. So here on my Puppet open source, I have changed the host name. The next thing I would be doing is edit another file which is etc hostess, and in this file there is a reference called Ubuntu on line number 2, which I'm going to change to Puppet again. Okay, so far so good. Open up your etcresolve.conf and check whether it points to the DNS properly. I think it is. Yeah, so that's pointing. So looks good. What about the IP address? So IP address of this machine is 56.101. I need to configure my machine to point here, my DNS machine to point here. So I'm getting my DNS up. So this is my DNS. The right hand side box is a DNS box. Hostname Puppet. After editing the file, you will have to set up the hostname as this using hostname command. Okay. Once you do it, exit from the prompt, sudo su again, and you would be having the name reflected. So now you see that root@puppet appears, not root@ubuntu. Okay, on the DNS, we need to configure the DNS. So I would be configuring DNS to point at 101 for the Puppet hostname. How do we do that? We get to the configuration file, which is kept at etc bind db.example.com for forward resolution. I don't care about reverse resolution for now. So one IP address which is added is DNS, another one is for Puppet. Puppet in ADDR A, which is IPv4 kind of address, and 192.168.56.100 and 1. Okay, so that's what the IP address is. That's for Puppet. For nodes, you don't need to add the IP addresses, not required. Okay, so I need IP address of Puppet, and I need it only for forward resolution. Reverse resolution, if you don't add it, still works, but for convenience, let's do it. So here my Puppet name is puppet.example.com, and it points to the IP address which is 101. I don't care about other ones, I'm removing them. Cool. What do we do next? We simply restart the service. So it is service bind9 restart. Great. So if that worked, we should be able to do ns lookup from the Puppet machine. So ns lookup on puppet.example.com, would it work? Should work. It is saying that IP address is different. In that case, I guess result.conf doesn't work properly. So let me clear up these things and fix it. Okay, is it able to ping my DNS? 192.168.56.1. Okay, that's working. Is DNS able to ping the machine? We're trying to troubleshoot stuff here. Ping 192.168.56.101. Okay, so that works as well. Okay, so now it's working. Puppet.example.com is on address 56.101. Okay, so that works. So what went wrong? Nothing went wrong actually. On the virtual networks, sometimes it takes time on the same machine because these are eventually the processes trying to get hold of the CPU. So they are racing one another. So we are set with Puppet. Now about the nodes. Let's get to the nodes. So I would be jumping to the node called node 1, and we are going to configure this node as my Puppet node. We have installed a package called Puppet. So if I type in Puppet command here, it should work. Puppet. Yeah, so that's working. Again, the configuration files are kept at the same location, which is etc puppet. Here you'd be finding a file called puppet.conf. Open that up and provide the name of the server. Server attribute is not present here. We would be adding our own. Server equals to puppet.example.com. Make sure that this machine can reach puppet.example.com. And let's look up on puppet.example.com. Does it give me the right IP address? No, it doesn't. So let's open up result.conf and set it up. Okay, does it work now? I guess it's going to cause a little bit of problem. So I'll have to do some more stuff here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the IP address of my DNS machine. It would require a few minutes of work, but it's worth it. Let's see, bind db.example.com. So I'm changing the IP addresses of my DNS machine. It should be 2 instead of 1. So I'm changing it again. The reason I'm changing it is that generally at dot 1 we find the router IP addresses and not the DNS IP addresses. So I'm changing my DNS IP address to dot 2. So I've changed this in my bind configuration files. I would be serving it on IP address number 2. Restart the service bind 9. That's not enough. We need to change it into our interfaces as well. So interfaces are kept at etc network interfaces. Okay, the static IP address that you see here is 56.1. I'm going to change it to 56.2. Go save it. If down eth1, if up eth1 should get me a new IP address. Wonderful. One more thing that we need to configure. DHCP is now propagating to IP address .1, which I need to change. So open up a DHCP configuration file, which is at etc dhcp dhcpd.conf. We already know that, and I'm going to change the IP address which is being propagated for DNS as .2 instead of .1. Okay, so I'm changing it. Alright, save it and restart the service. So service ISC DHCP server restart. Fab. That's working. So for now everything looks to be good. Puppet, I need to change again the result.conf file, which should point to the new DNS. Okay, does NS lookup work? Works. On node 1 we need to do the similar thing. Dot 2, try to do an NS lookup here. It works as well. So great, we are able to set it up on both these machines. Node 1 can reach Puppet. Puppet knows where it is. so no problems at all. On the node, we need to set up the host name, which is another prerequisite. So I would be following the similar steps that I did on the Puppet Master. Host name has to be node 1. Every machine should be identified with a unique host name, and another file in which we want to make changes is hostess. So go change it to node 1. Okay, then the command hostname node1 should help you out. Exit and do sudo su again, and there is node at root at node1 appearing. All the prerequisites are done. Now we are going to interact with Puppet from node 1. So node 1 now knows where Puppet is, but it hasn't generated a certificate. Now certificates are required for these two machines to pass messages between one another in an encrypted form, and the connection would be authenticated. For authentication and message passing, we need certificates to be created, and certificates can be created automatically by typing in the command puppet agent -t. So you would see that this is the only command which is being fired on the node side. Okay, there is no other command which is required on the node to be fired. For applying the manifests on a developer machine, we have used the command puppet apply and the manifest name. Here puppet agent -t should take care of everything. Puppet agent -t, it says that it is generating a new SSL key for node1.domain.name. I need to change it. It shouldn't be domain.name, it should be example.com. Let's see. It wouldn't cause any problem though. I don't mind it using domain.name at this point. Mhm. Domain.name is coming in from result.conf. So if I change this domain.name to example.com, that should pick up example.com as well. Okay, one more debugging step. If by mistake you have generated a certificate with the wrong name, so before signing it up on the Puppet, you'll have to do a little bit of cleanup. So for doing cleanup, what you do is on the node side, we would be removing a directory. So rmrf, it is at varlib puppet ssl cert. Okay, so you would be clearing up ssl cert or directly ssl directory ssl/star. I would be removing all of them. So my certificates are all cleaned. If I execute puppet agent -t again, this time it would be generated by a new name. How to check by which name it is going to be fired? Type in hostname -f should give you the host name, and domain name. Let me set up the domain name as well. Not required though, but we can set up the domain name. Domain example.com. So if I hit puppet agent -t this time, it would be generating it by a new name. But meanwhile, on Puppet, we have already received a certificate request that I need to clear up. So for looking at the certificate request, you will have to do puppet cert list. Okay, my puppet master is on the left hand side, my node is on the right hand side. So when I say puppet master, please check the screen on the left. Currently it says that node1.domain.com is a certificate request which is present. So there are a few subcommands that you would be using. Puppet cert help on sign. Puppet help cert. Okay, so this is giving us a few outputs. Let me check if we can reduce it. Okay, So there are a few subcommands that if you are able to find out from the screen. Uh, Sign is one, so you'd be typing in puppet search sign for signing that request. Okay, but we don't want to sign it. Okay, so I wouldn't be using that. Once you sign the request, you can also revoke a certificate by typing in revoke, or delete the certificate at all from this machine by typing in puppet cert clean and the certificate name. Certificate names are generally the host names, the complete FQDNs, hostname at the rate of domainname.com. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that request altogether. The request is again kept at the similar path, which is varlib puppet. So let's cd to this folder. In it there would be a subfolder called SSL. Inside that there would be a folder called certificate requests, certificate requests, get in there. Currently it is empty, so doesn't matter. Let's check it out in another one. Cd certificate requests ls, it is node1.domain.name.pem, the file which is created, and I am going to delete this file, okay, because I don't need it anymore. And this is a debugging session here that we are trying to do. We have mistakenly created a certificate which we want to remove. Done. Puppet cert list. Currently Puppet cert list is empty, so we have successfully removed it from the Puppet master side. On the node side we have also removed it. Let's try it again. Puppet agent minus T. It says it is creating a new SSL certificate. It has created one, and now the name is node1.example.com. It is not node1.domain.name. Good. On the master side I am typing in Puppet cert list again to list the certificates, and we should be looking at node1.example.com certificate. If you want to sign it, puppet cert sign and the certificate name node1.example.com. Now I know that if there are multiple nodes or hundreds of nodes, you wouldn't be typing in sign request for each and every node. In that case, you would be typing it something like this: puppet cert sign hyphen hyphen all. Puppet cert site all would be signing all the certificates for you. So currently it has signed all the certificates. And the next time you fire puppet agent minus T on the node, it should configure itself. It says server host name puppet.example.com did not match server certificate, expected one of the ubuntu.domain name dns puppet dns. Okay, so that's another problem. We resolved one, we got into another, we will resolve this as well. Before that, let me take up a query here from Raghu that did you already set up firewall rule 8140 port on master? No, I didn't. I have not set any firewall rules as of now. Okay, so we'll be playing with firewall rules in the coming modules, but for now I haven't set anything. It's all open. Let's fix this server hostname. Now this error came in because we messed up with a few things already. What we did wrong that the package we installed first and then we changed the hostname. We should have set up the hostname first and then install the package. Okay, doesn't matter. We would be creating this certificate again. So on the Puppet master, there would be a folder in which the certificates are kept. Let me see. It would be certificate requests or certs, I guess. Yeah, so currently the cert name is ubuntu.domainname.pem. I'm going to change it. So I'm going to name it as move ubuntu.domainname.pem as puppet.example.com.pem. Let's try it out again. If it fixes, it's good. If it doesn't, yeah, so that fixed it for now. I'm going to enable the service. This would enable the daemon on the node side, and I'm going to manually trigger it. Okay, there is some certificate problem again. So let me do one thing. I'm removing this certificate, and we will try to create a certificate again. So puppet cert generate by the name of puppet.example.com. So puppet.example.com certificate is now created. I would be doing some more stuff here to fix these errors. It wouldn't fix it as easy. So let me revoke a few certificates here. RM, RF, varlib, puppet, search, sorry, SSL star. So there goes my certificate. Here I would be cleaning up the certificates as well. It's in series CA, and then there is signed. Let's check it's node1.example.com. I'm cleaning it up. So RM node1 and RM Ubuntu not required. Both of them are off. Let's generate another certificate. Puppet agent minus T. It is generating a certificate now. On the master side, I'm signing it up. Puppet cert sign all. It worked. On Puppet agent minus T, hit it again. Okay, so instead of waiting time, what I'll do is I'll create a clean setup again. So we wouldn't be wasting much time in here. There is a certificate problem, and certificate is not able to be coming in again with the new name. So let me do one thing. I'll remove this and I'll get it back working with a new box altogether. So this goes off, getting it back again. I'll name it Puppet. Okay. So while that happens, we would be taking up another question here. The question is from Nagarjun that if we have two nodes, we are giving up the IP in Puppet Master. If we have 100 nodes, do we have to give the IP for all these nodes manually in Puppet Master? Well, we are not setting up any IPs in Puppet Master for now. Um, Not at all. Okay, not two, not 100 machines. We are using DNS to propagate the Puppet Master's IP address. Rest everything is configured based on certificates. Only the agents would be talking to your Puppet. Puppet would not be generating requests to the agents. So Puppet doesn't even need to know where the agents are. Okay, so the IP address is not required at all. Okay, so the machine is up. I'm getting inside of it. Very first thing that we would be doing is setting up the host name. Now this time we wouldn't do it wrong. All set. Host name should be Puppet. I'm changing the file. Host name. Change it from Ubuntu to Puppet. Okay, set it up. Another file is etc hostess and change Ubuntu to Puppet again. Is the name resolvable? Check it up and as lookup on Puppet. Does it work? Yeah, so that's working. So what I'll do next is apt-get update and apt-get install Puppet open source, which is Puppet Master. Now this topic here, Puppet, is again an important topic, just like we covered Jenkins. So we would be spending more time on this Puppet module. The coming modules would be fairly easy, and database concepts and uh, other conceptual things would be fairly theoretical. Question here from Murlidhar. For example, if user wants to install IBM IHS server apart from Apache, may I know how IHS lab binaries and web server is configured through Puppet? Puppet helps in firing commands via resources. The resource name is called exec, EXEC. So using that resource, you would be firing the binaries as well. So if anything custom has to be done, which is not available in public repositories, okay, so you can ask Puppet to download the binaries, provided you know where the binaries are kept, the URLs. Once the binaries are downloaded, you could fire the exact same commands that you have done, uh, you have used when you have installed those things manually. Okay, so Puppet can run automation scripts as well. We are trying to download the package Puppet Master and installing it. It would take a few minutes. We will learn about Bash script in the next session, where we would be trying to automate all these installation processes ourselves using Bash. So if Puppet does not understand some of the stuff, what you could tell is, Puppet, please run this script for me, and the script would be taking care of setting up all these things. Well, the question here from Murli is that does Puppet Master act as admin console for other nodes? No, it doesn't in open source Puppet, okay? Um, but it does in enterprise Puppet. The bridging application that is required is called M Collective. So M Collective comes pre-installed with open source, not open source, the enterprise version of Puppet, where we can have Puppet Master acting as admin console to other nodes as well. But with open source Puppet, that is a limitation. For that, you'll have to integrate it with another node classifier software, which is called Foreman. Actually, Foreman is used for infrastructure automation uh, to manage the bare metal hardwares, but it can also integrate with your open source Puppet to help you out. So if you need to have a nice admin console for Puppet open source, you'll have to integrate that with Foreman. And Foreman comes with its own package, so you don't have to install Puppet open source or Puppet master package here on this machine. Instead, check the Foreman website. They have got their own package which installs Puppet master along with their Foreman frontend to help you out with the admin console to other nodes. So here Puppet master is installed. What we need to do next is nothing, right? I guess everything is set on this machine. And let's look up on puppet.example.com. Yeah, that works. So now on my node 1, which was actually creating problems, what I'll do is I'm revoking the certificates again. So rmrf on var lib puppet. SSL star, clean it up and generate the request again. Now this time it is going to be a fresh node request. I hope that works. It seems there's some network problem in between. Let me check. Ping Puppet. Oh, so the IP address changed here. Let me fix the IP address. Let's see, bind db.example.com. The IP address should be 105. Go save it. IP address on 192 should be 105 again. Save and service bind 9. Restart. Done. Now on the node side, does it work? Okay, so that's working. Puppet agent -t again. First command to generate a certificate. Generated. Second command for enabling it as a service. Now for running the agent, you can use two different ways. One way is to enable the service. So service Puppet would be available on the system, which would execute the daemon request every 30 minutes. If you don't want to use Puppet service, in that case you can set it up into cron. Okay, so you could simply type in cron tab -e, and cron tab -e would get you to this editor wherein you could add a command like this. If you want the command to be executed every 10 minutes, so you could say */10 *** and the command which you want to fire, which is puppet agent -t. So your puppet agent would be giving call to puppet master every 10 minutes. So actually this is an overhead that you need to take care of it by yourself. First things first, let's sign the certificate request and get this running. Puppet cert list. Okay, so there's a certificate list. Puppet cert sign on. It has signed the certificate. Now get back to node 1. Now this actually happens, everything that I'm doing here happens automatically because it is going to take 30 minutes or so for Puppet agent -t to run it itself. I'm running it manually. Okay, so it has cached the certificate. It has worked properly. Puppet agent -t has configured the node to work as a Puppet agent. Now, what about applying the configuration onto the node? Okay, so we have created one module, right? But it would make more sense if you could use the modules which other people have already created so that you don't have to work a lot. Okay, and this application, which is hosted live on internet, it's called Forge, that we are going to look next. Forge is the application which is provided by Puppet Labs. It holds a public repository for all the modules which other people have written. Yesterday we have written a manifest. We haven't bundled it up into a module. Okay, so we would be now bundling it up into a module. But before that, I would be installing the module and show you how to configure that. So here the module that I'm going to show you is Apache 2. Forge.puppetlabs.com is a website where all the community-driven modules, community-contributed modules would be kept, which are free to you for download and install, and as well as use. So Puppet Forge looks something like this. where you would be looking for modules, search from blah blah modules. So you could search for your module. I need a module for Apache. There is a module for pretty much everything. Okay, right from Apache to Cassandra or from Kafka to Elasticsearch, you could find pretty much every module in here. So currently, the first module that appears, I would be using the one. It is provided by the user example42. So left hand side before slash is the username, after slash is the module name. Okay, so I'm going to use Apache module from example42 user. If I click on that entry, it would take me to a new page where the commands are mentioned. And on this page, I would be looking at a command, the one that I've highlighted currently. It is puppet module install example42-apache. Now if you see, the slash has been replaced by a hyphen. When you use it from your console, your puppet machine, you'd be typing example42-apache, not slash apache. Okay, so let's do it. I'm here on my puppet box and I would be running the same command, which is puppet module install. Okay, and the name is example42-apache. So we are installing the module from Forge. Puppet Master has to have internet connection working for this to work. If you don't want to download it from the internet, what you could do is you could keep the pre-downloaded modules in some folder and you could copy it to the location that I'll show you shortly. So the location where the modules are kept is etc puppet modules. If you look at the screen, just above the blue lines, it is written etc puppet modules where this module is going to be kept. So what you could do is, if you don't want to install module by using Forge, you could simply copy the module which you want to implement here in this particular folder, etc puppet modules. So if you go to etc puppet modules, you would see all the different modules which are installed here, and one of the module that we have installed now is Apache. Okay, the module name, actually the complete module name was example42-apache, but example42 being a username is not implemented, and you would be looking at only the module name, which is Apache here. Okay, so inside this module, what's present, we'll see in detail about this module when we write it. Okay, but for now, I'll just tell you that all our manifests would be kept in a folder called manifests, which is fourth entry here. cd to manifest, you'd be looking at a file which is init.pp, which would be the starting point, which is third in this entry. It is init.pp. Okay, so there could be many multiple files which are present in here, but don't get confused with it. We would be writing these all by ourselves, but for now we have just downloaded a module. How to implement a module? Implementation of module is even easier. There is a file called site.pp. Now remember this file, you'll have to work on this file very often. The file is kept at etc puppet manifests, not modules, etc puppet manifests. And in these manifests, so manifest folders are multiple. One of the manifest folder is inside your module. Another manifest folder is here at the parent level at etc puppet manifest, where you would be having a site.pp file. If it's not there, create one. So I've created site.pp file, which would be the primary file. Primary file as in whenever a module is compiled. So site.pp would be the first file to get compiled, and all your node and module related information should be kept in site.pp file itself. So what I'll do is I will attach my node, whose name is node1.example.com, with a module, and that module name is Apache. Okay, so I have just attached a module to a node. If there are multiple nodes, you wouldn't be repeating this 100 times. What you could do is you could simply replace this by a regular expression, regular expressions are placed inside slash, starting slash and an ending slash, and node 1 would be taking any value, right? So instead of 1, I would be placing any digit in there. So that would be my regular expression for all my machines in a cluster, which would follow a similar kind of naming convention. So naming convention here would be node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4, node 5, and so on. For now, let's remove the regular expression. We'll be using the name itself. Okay, that's all what is required in set.pp. Set.pp would be holding only the relations between your nodes and the modules. Go hit save, and now let's try it again from the node side. So I'm back on my node 1. On node 1, we would be firing the command puppet agent -t again. Nothing else has to be remembered here on the node side. Now if you see on the node, it has started configuring itself according to the manifest, okay, which are present inside the module called Apache. So it will do it once, it will get itself to a state, and it will also install Apache on top of it. I've told you yesterday that the part of software that you will not write in manifest will not be handled by Puppet. So if you have 4 configuration files and you missed the fourth one, Puppet will only fix 3 configuration files for you. It will not handle the fourth configuration file, which might cause problems. And that is the reason why the Apache module that you see here, which we have downloaded from Forge, to be huge. It has got many manifest files inside of it. But the Apache module that we have written yesterday, it was a very small one, right? Just one single manifest files with 3 different resources. Very simple. So here, let's wait for it to. Okay, sorry, Raghu. So I was talking about run intervals. So if you want to reduce the run interval and want it to run every 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes or so, so what you could be doing is you would be adding an attribute here which says run underscore interval equals to 10, okay, which will cause it to run every 10 minutes. It could be a problem for a bigger cluster because all your 200 nodes would be trying to connect to your Puppet master every 10 minutes or so. So it fairly amounts to 20 requests per minute. So one request per 3 seconds. And in 3 seconds, you cannot install a package. So your Puppet master would be blocked for that time. So what you could do is you could specify the run intervals according to your requirements. Okay, if it makes sense, make it 30, make it 40. We don't want the Puppet nodes to get configured every now and then, because if you're sure that no one is going to change them or reconfigure them, you don't need to keep a track of them. Okay, so can be doable. It's all up to you how to decide over that run interval factor. If you don't want the services to be running, you could set it up into cron like I just said. Okay, so that would also work. I'll remove this for now because I don't want this to be running. So that was Puppet open source, but for writing our own manifest, sorry, own module. So let's do one thing. We would replace the Apache module here or create another module for that say. So I would be creating a new module on my Puppet master. I would call that module as web server. and we would be installing Apache using that module. Okay, the same manifest file that we have written yesterday, but this time we are going to bundle it up. So the module name is going to be web server, and the module would be doing two things. First thing, it would be setting up Apache, checking if the service is up, and second thing that it would be doing is it would be deploying the code for us. So the code that we have committed to the Git would move past Jenkins, and Jenkins would be deploying it to Puppet Master. Puppet Master would take care of deploying it onto the nodes. That is how the flow works. Okay, developer to SCM, SCM to CI, CI to configuration management, and from configuration management to the infrastructure. Tooling wise, it is something like this: developer machine to GitHub, GitHub to Jenkins, Jenkins to Puppet Master, Puppet Master to Puppet node. So let's see. I'm on Puppet Master. I want to create my own module. So how do I do it? Go to your modules folder and here create a module. How do we create one? We simply write or use a boilerplate. I could also create a folder by default. Okay, so I could do it manually, but I don't want to do it manually. What I'll do is I would be using a boilerplate which is provided by Puppet. So the boilerplate can be generated like this: Puppet module generate. So I'm typing in the command Puppet module generate, and here my module name. So my module name would be my username hyphen my module name, which is web server. Okay, so my module name is web server, my username is Ashish, so and there is a hyphen in between them. So it has generated a module. Let's see. Okay, so there's a module which is generated by my name hyphen web server. One thing that you need to do here is that you will have to remove the username. So that's just for identification purposes, but it will not work. Folder name has to be same as class name. Let me show you what is the class name here. If I get inside the newly created module and get inside the manifests, there would be a small file which is init.pp created. Now this file is the starting point. After start.pp, init.pp is called. Let me show you what init.pp holds. Init.pp holds a class definition for class web server. Okay, so your folder name or your module name should be exactly same as the class name. My class name is going to be web server, so what I'll do is I will go back and rename the module name. Now the module name is Ashish hyphen web server. I am going to change it to web server. MV this to this. Great, makes sense. So let's do one thing. Edit web server.init.pp. Web server slash manifest slash init.pp. I'm going to edit that, and we would be adding the resources here. Now coming to the class. What is a class? Class is an entity that groups all your resources into one single block, and you could reference that block using a class name. So like I did with the earlier module, we have installed Apache, right? And inside .pp I have referenced Apache. Actually, I was not referencing to the module at all. I was referencing to the class name. Now since module name and class name has to be the same, it works. Okay, so actually I was referencing to the class name. So if here the class name is web server, I would be referencing to the class web server inside .pp. Any of the resources that you want this class to contain should be placed inside of it. So in the yesterday's class, when we have created the manifest, we have simply written the resources here and there in the file. Okay, we have not bundled it up. So today we are going to bundle it up. Let's remember what we did yesterday. It was resource type, which is package, resource name. So the resource name is Apache 2, right? And ensure that it is present. Okay, then we worked on the service part. So I need the service to be present as well. Ensure that it's is always in running state. right? And the service name as well. So service name should be Apache 2. Do not miss the colon part. The file. So I'm actually duplicating the whole file in here, what we have done yesterday, right? Ensure that it is going to be a file. File would be kept at var www-html-index.html. Ensure that it's a file. Ensure the content happens to be hello world. Now this is going to be set up statically for now, but I'm soon going to make it work according to Jenkins. Whatever code we have, it would be deployed there instead of this manual work. Okay, there doesn't have to be hard-coded configuration here. So content should be hello world. The owner of the file should be www-data. Okay, and the group should be the same, and the mode 0644. One new thing that we are going to learn. If I want to make sure that files are created at last and packages are installed at first, we will have to order this up. By default, the order which is mentioned is from top to bottom. Whatever we are declaring first would be executed first. Okay, but if you want to make sure that that happens, because in bigger manifest you wouldn't remember in which order you have written the stuff, but you always want package to be installed before the service is enabled, because there would be no service if package is not installed, right? Makes sense? So what we'll be doing is adding some dependencies or some order dependencies. It is written like this. So for the package, now the P is in caps, Apache 2. It has to be installed before service Apache 2. Make sense? We'll look into detail when we cover this language part in the next class. That is all what is required in this class web server for now. Go save it. We are not deploying the code as of now. We have not attached it to anything. We just want to make sure that Puppet can configure node 1 with this new class. If that works, we will look into deployment in the coming sessions. So here it's all set, but in site.pp I'll need to take care of setting up the class. Site.pp is in etc puppet manifests site.pp. It says include Apache, but I am going to change it to include my own class, which is web server. Okay, if everything is fine, that should work. How to check the syntax of your manifest? To check the syntax of the manifest, the command is, let me get to the modules folder. Inside modules, my module name, which is web server, and manifests. Okay, so here there is init.pp, or in yesterday's case it was example.pp. If you want to check whether the syntax of that pp file is perfect, so we'd be typing a command which is puppet not module, which is puppet parser validate. Using the parser validate a pp file which is init.pp in this case. It is not giving any error. If you don't get any output, that means there is no error in it. All set. We have set up the site.pp file as well, right? If I remember, manifest site.pp, yes, so that's set as well. Done. We are all configured on the master side. Now let's check on the node side if it implements that. Puppet agent -t is the only command that you would be firing on the node side. Wonderful. So it has picked up the new configuration. It has changed the index.html file, also changed the ownership of it. Let's give it a shot. Curl localhost should give us hello world. So that works. Okay, so far so good. We haven't deployed anything yet, so we'll be learning how to deploy the code. okay, and a few more nitty-gritties of the language. But it would be too much for today's class. We have already done a lot of stuff here. So let me quickly show you how to install Puppet Enterprise. Okay, we still have got a good 10 minutes to go. So I would be telling you how to set up Puppet Enterprise. The rest of the commands, creating modules, signing up certificates is exactly the same. Okay. Here in Puppet Open Source, we have installed it using a package called Puppet Master. In Enterprise, there is no package. So what we are going to do is we would be bringing up a new machine. We would be downloading a tarball from internet from Puppet Labs website. So let me create a machine. I would call it as PE. Okay, PE means Puppet Enterprise. Now go to the browser, open up a website which is puppetlabs.com, and the URL would be download-puppet-enterprise. Okay, it's taking too long. Alright, so this is the website which I was referring to. Here, go and click on free trial. You'll have to buy a license for Puppet Enterprise, but it is free for initial 10 nodes. So we would be trying it free for our demo purposes. Click on free trial. It would bring up a form. Fill up that form. Okay. Click on continue. It would take you to another screen where it would be asking you for your operating system flavor. So tell them that okay, we are using Ubuntu 14.04. It would ask you for downloading a tarball. So download the tarball, and once you have the tarball downloaded, you'll have to extract it. So what I did was, to save time, I've already downloaded the tarball. Let me show you next screen, then we would be going to extracting the tarball and using it. If any one of you is using graphical version of Ubuntu, you could download it onto that machine itself, on PE machine itself. But what I would be doing in my case is, I will be downloading this to host machine, then I will share that tarball with the virtual machines. Okay, so here the operating system has to be selected. So I'm selecting my operating system, which is Ubuntu, option 2. It would ask me to select a version. I would be selecting 14.04, and then it would be asking me to download now. Okay, so you could click on download now, download that version, and I've kept it already in a ready state. So here on my machine, I've kept it here. A lot of tarballs that you see here are all Puppet tarballs. So I've downloaded this, which is Puppet Enterprise 3.7.2 Ubuntu 14.04 i386 star.gz. The next stuff that I did was to extract this. Okay, you will need an application called WinRAR installed on your machine, not WinZip, WinRAR. So you'd be using WinRAR for extracting it into a folder, which is the highlighted entry on screen, Puppet Enterprise 3.7.2 Ubuntu 14.04 i386, which is the extracted version. Inside of it, you'd be finding multiple files, of which we are only concerned of 3 different scripts. Okay, so these scripts are, very first is Enterprise Installer. The last one is Enterprise Uninstaller. And if you want manuals and documentation installed as well, so you would be using Puppet Enterprise Support. So I'm going to use Puppet Enterprise Installer. So for installing Puppet, what you need to do is the machine that we have just configured, change the settings of it. It needs a minimum of 2 GB RAM. It will not work on 400 or 512 MB of RAM. Okay, it would simply not install itself. So what I'll do is I'm going to increase my RAM to 2048, which is 2 GB. One more thing I need to do, in shared folders, I will have to share a folder with this machine because I want to use the tarball which I've just downloaded on the host box. So what I will do is I will try to share it. The folder path which I want to share is, in my case, I'm sharing the complete drive because I've got files in there. In your case, you would be sharing a particular folder. Click on OK. So your file is ready to be mounted. I would say auto mounted because I don't want to mount it again and again manually inside Ubuntu, and OK. Okay, so I've added a shared folder in the settings part of the Puppet Enterprise machine. Click on OK. Unfortunately, my VirtualBox Manager has crashed. I'll try it again. Okay, so what I'll do next is I would simply power on this machine and check whether the auto mounting has worked. Hopefully, if it does, we will move on to the next step. You could share the folders directly in your Ubuntu template as well. The one that we are using for template, the Ubuntu 14.04. What you could do is you could use that as a template and configure all the shared folders in there in that machine. So whenever you create a new machine, uh, automatically the folder would be shared. So let me check if the folder is shared here in this box. Let's shared folder would be appearing in the media. So yes, in the media we have the shared folders in there. One of the shared folders is SFE drive, CD to SFE drive, and we should be able to see all the folders in there. So CD to SFE drive, inside SFE drive I have Puppet Enterprise, so I will CD to Puppet Enterprise 3.7.2 Ubuntu 14.04 i386. Okay, inside that we have three different files or installer scripts. I would be installing the one which is Puppet Enterprise installer. How to execute a script dot slash. First you need to be on that folder itself. So I'm inside the folder. I have done ls to get the listings of the scripts, and I would be installing the script by, or sorry, executing the script by typing in dot slash. That means in the current directory, execute the script that says Puppet Enterprise installer. Hit enter. It would ask you for installing, so say yes. Hit enter again. Now this installation is a two-step process. It is not easy as simply installing a package Puppet Master. It is a two-step process in which step one is to execute a script. The script would be bringing up a web server. Okay, so it would bring up a web server. The next step is to connect to that web server to continue with the installation. All right, so we are trying to finish step one here. It's an easy one. You don't have to do a lot of stuff in here, but it is a two-step process. So what I'll do is I'll quickly grab the IP address of this machine because I would be required to connect to this box. IP address is 56.106. I'll wait for this to finish. It would take a few minutes for web server to be up, and the next step would be a nice console would be there on the browser which would guide you through the next steps of installation. It would hardly take another 5 minutes to finish up with that. If you're using less than 2 GB of RAM, in that case your machine would be stalled. Not all the process would be running in the background. Uh, okay, so there would be a lot of problem in there. If not all the processes are coming up, if all the daemons are not coming up at the same time in Puppet Enterprise, most of your features will not work. In Puppet Master open source version, there is only one single daemon which is running in the background, so it doesn't have those many requirements. If you think 2 GB is not enough for you, make it 4. It would notify us when step 1 is done. Yeah, I'm still waiting on it. Well, there's one more thing as prerequisite to setting up Puppet Master and the nodes. For certificates to be signed and working, you need to make sure that the time on all the servers is in sync. All the servers should be showing exactly the same time. That is actually a responsibility of your cluster manager, whoever is working on the cluster, to make sure that all the machines are sharing the same time. So for that, he would be setting up uh, a local time server for that. So we don't need to worry about that part here. But it is also a prerequisite, so it's good to know. Still waiting on it. Hmm. Okay, so I think it's taking a bit longer than expected. So let's do one thing. We will drop the call for today. We will continue this again in tomorrow's class. So installing Puppet Enterprise, working with Enterprise, uh, learning more about Puppet language is what we are going to look into tomorrow's class. Well, brilliant. It has finished the step 1. It says please go to https some URL colon 3000. Don't believe this URL. It is going to be https colon your IP address colon port number 3000. Okay, so I'll quickly show you. It would take a minute or two for me to show. Um, on this browser, go to the URL from the host, which is https. Remember, it is not HTTP, it is HTTPS, and the IP address of your Puppet Master, which is 56.106, I guess, in my case. Let me be sure. So it is PE, yeah, it's 106, and the port number is 3000. If you go here, it would ask you for adding an exception, so add it. Now this is the screen that you would be looking at. So Puppet Master in Enterprise would be coming up with a nice browser interface to help you install the stuff. Now, the next step, it would be asking you to install it on two modes, whether it is monolithic or split. We are using the nodes which are less than 500 in a number, so go with monolithic. In split architecture, it would be placing each and every of the daemons in on a separate machine. So your CA signing authority would be different, your Puppet database would be kept on different machine, your Puppet master daemon would be running on different machine, M collective would be kept on different machine. We are not going there for now. Monolithic is what I'm setting up. I'm setting up everything on this machine where my FQDN or fully qualified domain name is puppet.example.com. DNS alias is Puppet. So if I ping Puppet, it should work. database support, I'm installing a fresh database. In bigger companies where you already have databases running, you could set it up on existing copy as well. Okay, so I'm installing PostgreSQL on PuppetDB host for me, so I'm using a fresh instance now. Type in your password. So I'm typing in the password that I would be using. Okay, and click on next. Here it would be asking you for confirmation of the entries that you have added. If you are confirmed with it, click on continue. It would verify all these entries again one more time. Okay, it has given us a recommendation that okay, we need at least 4 GB RAM and 4 core of CPU power. Now that is not a problem. Okay, that is just a warning. So the warning is that we need at least 4 core of CPU and 4 GB of RAM for Puppet Master to work. And if it is not the one, it is going to give us a warning. Well, we are just trying the demo version of it and we don't have those many nodes, so I'll skip these warnings. We don't need to worry about these warnings for now. Worry only about it is in red color. It's an error. Okay, so all set. Click on deploy now. That would start the phase 2 of installation. So phase 2 of installation has started. You don't need to do even a single thing here. Everything would be configured on your Puppet Master Enterprise version. If you want to see the log, click on the log view button, which would bring up a nice log screen for you, where you can see a live installation going on. Once this finishes off, it would take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes to finish. There would be a nice big button appearing at the summary view, where you are seeing summary view. Just on the right hand side of that summary view button, there would be a big button appearing which says start using Puppet. Okay, um, and we will take forward from that point in tomorrow's class. All right, so once you click on that button, it would be taking you to a nice Puppet console, which is also called as Puppet dashboard. Now Puppet dashboard, this nice installation screen is not part of Puppet open source. This is all Puppet enterprise. So we'll be concentrating tomorrow on Puppet enterprise's UI version, what it has to offer. We will be learning about Puppet language as well. So that's all from my side for today. If you have any queries or doubts to ask from today's class or from anything that we have covered so far, feel free to ask that. I'm still here for another few minutes. You could unmute yourself, you could type in your chat boxes. Any doubts, queries? So what I want you people to do is try it on all by yourself. If you don't try, you wouldn't be having any queries at all.
Ashish, yesterday I have tried like creating example.pp and I have done like puppet apply example.pp and it was not executed and it is showing like could not retrieve fact fqdn
Okay. So fact FQDN,
and
actually FQDN is fully qualified domain name. For retrieving
yeah,
FQDN, what you need to do is uh, you need to make sure that host name command works. Okay. So on your machine,
okay,
whatever machine
and
you are using, go and try host name. Host name. That should bring in some output. Okay. So if that works, your
okay,
FQDN would be
is it like vm etc host, change that host name to client?
you may not. Whatever it is collecting the data from factor. So we'll cover factor in tomorrow's class. So if I type factor, it should be bringing in the screen that you're looking at right now. Um, there would be multiple
Okay,
facts on the left hand side and the related values on the right. So if I do factor grep on FQDN, FQDN in my case, it is pointing to node1.example.com currently. Okay,
Okay.
for building up FQDN, you need two parts. One is host name, another one is the domain name. So host name we can set up by
Okay.
typing in the hostname command. You're aware of that. For the domain name, you'll have to open hcresolve.conf file, resolve.conf.
For me, if I do factor grep fqd and it is showing nothing.
So it is not able to pick up the FQDN.
Okay.
Okay, so
And
what
it
you
is
need
showing
to,
error like invalid parameter ensure at example.pp colon 4 on node Ubuntu v1.
so there might be something wrong that you have typed in the PP file.
Okay. Okay, I'll try that today.
Yeah, of course. And you could also try Puppet parser validate and your PP file so that if there are any syntax or semantic errors, it would point it out.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Murli, I would be uploading these lectures in the shared drive. Yesterday we were not able to cover a lot of stuff because of frequent power failures in there. So I have not uploaded that video at all because there was nothing to show in there. So what I'll do is I would be uploading today's video, which is in detail, okay, and the coming videos as well. So any queries or doubts to ask? Anything else that I could help you with? Okay, the question here is from Raghu, that is mcollective and console for Puppet Enterprise? No, it's not a console. It's a supporting application. It is actually a standalone application. You could use mcollective without Puppet as well. mcollective, what it does is it uses a message queue to pass the commands to these nodes. So any of the live status that you would be looking at in Puppet Enterprise picks it from mcollective. mcollective console can be brought up by typing command mco. Okay, on Puppet Enterprise, once you have installed it, you could try hitting mco and it would bring you uh, all the help that is required for mcollective to work on the CLI. We would look into it in the coming sessions. All right, people. So that's it from my side for today. I'll see you again in tomorrow's class at 8 a.m. IST. Till then, have a great day ahead.